Welcome to Pro Bull Talk, where it's all talk and no bull. Get ready to slide and ride.
All right, let's go, boys. Hustle. Come on now. Let's go. Woo. Lay down now.
This episode is brought to you by Sutherland Logistics.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another great episode of Pro Bull Talk. As always, we got Brandon Wren, Cody Hart, Briar Hart, and a special guest today, Blue Jeans. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. Good to be here.
Heck yeah.
I was wanting to know, how'd you get that name, Robert Blue Jeans?
Well, obviously family name Jeans, and my dad, believe it or not, was a rodeo announcer, and he wanted to name me Wrangler Blue Jeans. He thought that'd be cool as hell. Mom wouldn't go for it. Mom wouldn't go for it, so it became Robert Blue Jeans. So
I've only known him as Blue Jeans.
Yep.
I thought that Blue
cool.
Jeans was the nickname and you had an actual last name.
no, that's actually it. But my name's spelled Jeanes, not NS like a pair of blue jeans. It's French. So.
French.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Going across the pond this morning, ain't we, boys?
Yeah.
Yeah. I met him on this side of the pond back in, probably the early 90s?
Yeah.
Down at the old Double J Rodeo Palace, probably.
Yeah. I was sitting there trying to think. It goes so far back, I can't remember the first time I met you. I mean,
Yeah.
y'all were riding bulls, you and JW, and I remember, I think my very first PBR was in Uvalde, Texas in 96. And then we did Winnie and Lafayette
Yeah.
that same year. And,
Yeah. I remember Lafayette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got a little western down there.
Yeah, I hauled a load of bulls down there and to Jerry's deal in Lafayette, and I just bought a brand new Dodge pickup. I mean, it had less than 500 miles on it, and I mean, I drove it home from the dealership, hooked it up to the gooseneck trailer, and loaded bulls, and we went to Lafayette, and we get down there, and it gets down into, the highway starts breaking down into one lane, and I mean, all of a sudden they stop in front of me, and I got 10 bulls on the trailer, and I try to lock this sucker up, and I breed a damn minivan, bows the damn front bumper out, and we pull up down there, and what'd you do to your new truck? Oh,
It sounds like Blake's driving.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't hit no.
Yeah, a little bit like Blake's driving.
Yeah.
I'm never hitting
That wasn't the only thing that happened down there, though. We'll get into Lafayette a little bit later. But so
A lot of good stories.
you fought bulls for a long time. You're now the PRCA director for the bullfighters. Just got your PRCA announcer's card.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations on that. And but how did you get started fighting bulls? And did you try to ride them? And this is something we always ask. It's always kind of a silly question.
Original
Where'd you get
question.
started? You know, but it leads into, everybody's got a little different story.
My dad had, like I said earlier, he announced rodeo, so I grew up going to him. And back in those days, my dad was working for Bradford Ivy, and Bradford Ivy was the bull man in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of good bullfighters came through there. So I was hanging out at the rodeos, and back then, a lot of times the bullfighters did acts too. You weren't just a bullfighter. And if they did have a barrel man, it was usually Quail Dobbs and some of them cool dudes. So man, I just hung out and gravitated toward those guys, and then got to meet Rex Dunn when I was about 13. And he was having a school, and I just warded my old man to death till I was a little over 14 years old when I was about to turn 15 when he sent me. And I went to Rex's school, and I mean, my dad, if he's alive, he'd tell you, he said his intention was to get me run over, break an egg in me, and then, I'd move on to something else. And they did run over me quite a bit, but I mean, I couldn't get enough of it. And then went to high school, played football. I didn't fight bulls hardly at all at high school because I lived with my grandpa, and he wasn't about it. So, but as soon as I graduated, I went to Winnie, Texas, where Johnny Ackle and Jerry Nelson were. They were just getting into it, and Jerry was just starting to buy bulls, and
Bad Boys.
That was Bulltown, USA, the Bad Boys bucking bulls, and guys this age won't even believe this, but every Wednesday night, 2 18-wheeler loads of bulls would show up, and they'd unload them, and I mean nobody had ever been on any of them, and we'd buck at least that many every Wednesday night, just jackpotting. And there's boys from Louisiana would come, and there'd be 55, 60 bull riders there every Wednesday night.
Now we got to pay them to get on.
Yeah, beg them. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can melt them and pour them on that many bulls.
I mean, I saw, like when Willis Trosclair, Willis would come over there, and once the jackpot was over, if there's 12 more standing there. Him and like DJ Domain and those guys would go. Jerry'd say, "Hey, $25 a bull. I need them bucked." And them boys, I mean, it didn't matter how many were back there. They got on them.
Dang.
That's a lot of bulls.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bulls, and that Jerry did it right too. I mean, he bought some good bred stuff, and I mean, he had the deal down there. He was putting on, I don't know how many term pros was Jerry putting on a year when it first started. I mean,
We got up to where we were doing somewhere between 18 and 21 a year. You know,
sometimes 2 a weekend.
yeah. And and then it got to where guys were coming. You know, guys that wanted to ride bulls would come to Winnie, and Jerry'd let them put a camper out there or stay here, there, and whatever. If they'd get on bulls, they could come. You know, and there's a lot of good guys come through there. I mean, we bucked tons of bulls. I can't even. I tell this story all the time. The most bulls I ever fought in one day was 300. And
Oh my goodness!
and everybody, you know, when you say that, everybody goes, "Oh, wait a minute." Well, there was a story behind it. Jerry, he had his first big bull sale down there at Winnie, and on Friday he bucked his 2-year-olds, and then on Saturday and Sunday were all the big bulls. Well, back in those days, you know how the bull sale deal was. You know, bullfighters would show up from everywhere. Well, anyway, we get to Sunday morning, and I'm the only guy that showed up.
Oh boy!
And there was 300 bulls to buck on a Sunday, and you know Jerry was the guy I worked for, and I wasn't gonna quit him. And I'm telling you, I fought 300 bulls that day by myself.
Holy cow. That's
Blake,
crazy.
you the bullfighting machine. You think you can handle 300?
No, I'm not even going to try.
Okay.
He
And
barely can handle 3.
Oh,
He can barely
Wow.
Many bulls.
Hey, he can
Wow.
barely handle a bull that stands taller than this.
heck.
It's okay, Blake.
So did you fight PBRs, PRCA? Did you get
starting out, Rudy Vela signed for my card. Back in those days, you had to have a stock contractor and 2 NFR bullfighters. So Rudy Vela, Rick Chapman, and Jimmy Anderson signed for my card. And I worked. Rudy didn't have but probably 4 or 5 rodeos at that time, and Jerry was just getting into the PBR deal. So I started out trying to rodeo because I wanted to go to the bullfights and all that. But then when Jerry's deal blew up, you know, I was a fool if I didn't go with that deal. And we started. So I mostly early part of my career did mostly PBRs, and then when Jerry kind of made the switch and started rodeo, and I just kind of kept going that direction. You know, I got to go the last year of the Wrangler bullfights. I got to go to 9 rounds it was James Harper's bullfights, and because everybody was scared to go to them, and I was too dumb to know better. And so I went to those 9 rounds and he had me booked for 30 rounds the next year because in those days you had to have 30 rounds to go to the NFR, and then Wrangler pulled all the money out, and then so I never really got to chase that as much as I wanted to.
Right.
And it's probably a good thing. It made me last longer, you know, because those bullfights are hard on you.
So did you ever make the NFR? I know viewers back home.
No, I never made the finals. I got close. I was in the conversation for the PBR finals there a couple of years when Frank was gone, and then made the top 5 for the NFR, but never got in there. It was tough. And in those days, you know, everybody's used to them taking 3 now. It used to be 2 and an alternate. So, yeah, usually only 2 guys got to go.
Did you ever fight any cups, maybe?
Yeah, I did some of those for Jerry that Jerry co-produced. Louisville, we did a couple years.
Yeah.
And we did Des Moines one time. Yeah, funny story. The first time remember when they did the double arenas at the Thomas and Mack? The first time they tried that was at Des Moines.
They
put that setup together, yeah. And but yeah, I did some of those. I got to do a lot of good stuff. I mean, I worked Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. I did Fort Worth, and I did Corpus Christi 15 years, Pasadena 20 years, Arcadia, Florida 20 years. So I got to do a lot of good rodeos.
So how'd you get started being the director of the bullfighters?
Robbie Hodges. Dustin Brewer was done with his term, and I didn't really want to do it. And I think it was the year before I quit fighting bulls. And Robbie Hodges stood up at the meeting and said, "Who wants Blue to be the director?" And everybody raised their hand, and I was like, so that's how I got it.
How long have you been doing it?
I think I'm 6 years in now.
How much flack have you got for that?
All the time. All the time. I mean, there's so many urban legends about the way things work, and you know, there's these big conspiracy theories about how guys get the finals and how guys get things and all that. And man, it almost makes me laugh sometimes. And I get phone calls of people wanting to chew me out about the way this went or the way that went. And then 9 times out of 10, I tell them, all right, well, open your rule book and turn to this and look and read me what it says. And they're like, oh, well I didn't know that. And I'm like,
Yep.
yeah. But, they think, a lot of people think, because you see a Dusty Tuckness and Cody Webster working the NFR, Dusty's set the all-time record 15 times in a row. People think, well, that's political and this, that, and the other. And I'm here to tell you guys, I oversee when they vote, and the top 20 bull riders in the world pick that guy every year. There's no urban, legend of any conspiracy.
If I could have both of them every single time, I'd come out of retirement and start riding bulls again.
Oh, I mean
they're phenomenal.
Exactly, and
It's a thought. It's a thought.
Oh,
it's
okay,
a thought.
okay. I was gonna say, really?
it's like the other day I was telling Cody. The other day I put a post up about Dusty because, he is this year sets the all-time record, and I got some flack. Some guys, on Facebook sent me some messages. Back in the '70s, if you worked the finals, you couldn't work them. Back-to-back years, you had to sit out for 4 or 5 years, and I'm like, well, I'm aware of that, but 15 straight years of doing that, I don't care what era or what you talk about. That's incredible. Because you think about it, that's probably 3 cycles of bull riders going through there.
Yep.
The guys that were there when he started, and then a whole nother group kind of comes and goes, and now he's into another group. And heck,
And
Webster,
he's still the best. And the best bull riders in the world are voting him.
The ones that are picking.
Yeah.
That's right. And a lot of guys, the other thing I hear is, well, they ought to change that rule back into where, they can let more people come through there. Well, I'm sorry, but I disagree. The top 20 guys that are sticking their hand in the rope, that's who they want, and that's who ought to be there.
That's exactly
Yep.
right.
And if some other bullfighters don't like it, well, go work harder in off season.
Go get it, because let me tell you something. If you go hang around Tuckness and Webster and get you some of that work ethic.
Well, I promise you, you hang around winners, the conversation's different than it is over there.
Absolutely.
With them guys that win second and third all the time.
Absolutely.
The conversation is completely different.
So what's your job? Like, what's that job and title? Like, what all do you do?
I oversee new guys coming in. So basically, the way it'll happen is a new bullfighter will come in. He'll send in an application with signatures. He has to have some NFR or Circuit Finals bullfighters and an NFR bull rider sign for him. Then what I do is they send in a list of 5 amateur rodeos. I send somebody out to watch them. All right, if they meet that approval, then they're on their permit. So they work their first 5 rodeos on their permit, and everybody they work with gets an evaluation. Then their peers, and if there's no problems at the end of those 5 rodeos, they flip over and they've got a full card. But I kind of oversee that process. Anything contract personnel related, we do. Sometimes I have to do things about secretaries and timers, and because we're a board, a contract personnel board,
A committee put together.
a committee. So we have to deal with all that stuff. But on the bullfighter end of it, that's what I do, and then I run the meeting when we get to Vegas, talk about any rule changes or anything we've changed or doing new for the new year. Got a new rule coming this year that I've caught a little flack about it too, but the best bull riders in the world wanted it, so we're starting in 24. There's going to be a way for bull riders, if they feel a guy's not fighting bulls good and he's a danger and he's getting guys hurt, that we can review them and reevaluate them. That's never been done in the PRCA, because once you had your card, no matter, if I decided tomorrow I wanted to go fight bulls and rebuy my card, I could do it, and I ain't got any business doing that.
Right.
But now there's going to be a reevaluation process, and Sage Kimsey and them guys helped me get that deal through. I think we've been needing it forever, and it's just kind of quality control. If a rodeo announcer does a bad job, rodeo might be bad, but nobody's life's in danger. If bullfighters, there's got to be some quality control, and Frank Newsom has to do that for the PBR.
Yeah.
That's what Frank does. And I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't trade phones with him for nothing in the world. No. Every young kid that wants to fight bulls is blowing him up, sending videos, and he has to do all that himself. And I don't know how he does it. I wouldn't. I'd duck out or something. I hope they're paying him good.
I don't know. Yeah. Speaking of ducking out, though, we're going to duck out for just a minute and hear a word from our great sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Lorick Ranch.
Hey guys, welcome back. If y'all like this furniture and our settings that we have, go check out Lorick Ranch Home Furnishings. Anything you've seen on our set, they got for sale, and you can buy it and take it home today. Anyway, give them a call and for any of your home furnishing needs. Blue, I heard a rumor. This is and we're here to squash rumors, right? That's what you said earlier. Before the show we got on. You was here to squash some rumors, and I don't know if you can answer it or not, but because you're more PRCA than you are PBR, and I'm probably going to stir the water and probably piss some people off here. But I heard, and I just want to squash it, just bring it to light. Did Frank or Webb say that Bryce Redo wasn't good enough to fight?
Well, I don't know. I don't know the details of what went on, but they did cut him, and they've cut some other guys this year.
Yeah,
I'm thinking that's part of their quality control. What they got to do.
Yeah,
you know, I've never really talked to Frank about his role or what he does. I just know that he's got to do the quality control, and that's tough. You know. That's
cutting pretty deep, cutting Bryce. I think Bryce Redo's a pretty salty dadgum cowboy protector. You know?
And you know what, and you know, like I said, everybody wants to weigh in on that and their opinion and stuff like that. But you know, Frank's got a job to do, and I ain't got his shoes on.
No.
So until I do, I'm not. You know, I don't believe in. Yeah, I mean, I love Bryce. I think Bryce fights bulls great. I think last year probably had had an outstanding year. Mm-hmm. But
that's what was shocking to me. He had such a good year last year, and then this year he's cut.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I know he got hurt in the middle of summer. I want to say Lovington at the rodeo, and that could have been part of it. You know, Frank was letting him heal up and get better. You know.
Could have been a misinterpretation along the lines. You know how rumors grow.
Oh yeah, and especially in the rodeo world, they grow like a fungus. You know. Yeah. But you know, it's like I was saying earlier. I wouldn't want to have to do what Frank does. I hope they pay him good for it because it's tough. You know, because you
probably lose a lot of friends over the deal.
You lose a lot of friends, and it reminds me of a story. You would have been around back then, but one of my first PBRs back then, Cody Lambert used to come to all of them. There wouldn't be a Challenger event on top of a Bud Light Cup or whatever. They were separate weekends. And Cody used to come to all of them, and he came to me one time, me and Mark Bennett, and said, "Hey, if you two don't step it up, I'm fixing to replace y'all." And I went, it made me mad because I'd never had anybody tell me I sucked before. You know, everybody, my whole career, everybody bragged on me, you know. And boy, I got mad, and I was mad at Lambert, you know. And I wanted to cuss him and all. But from then on, every time I stuck my foot out there, I had my mind made up. I was going to show him he didn't know what he was talking about.
He just trying to light the fire. Is all
and
he's
he
trying
did.
to do.
And from that point on, I had a chip on my shoulder, you know, to go out there and prove that he didn't know what he was talking about. And he was never going to be able to say that to me again. And and our old buddy Crabtree did the same thing to him. Uh-huh. You know, I think it was either Winnie or Lafayette, one of them
Winnie.
first deals. He told Crabtree, he said, "Man, I don't think you're good enough to come play here." And boy, you talk about say the wrong thing to the wrong dude. I mean, it wasn't 2 years later. He's at the PBR finals. You know, but
Steer dog and coyote ugly.
Yeah. But sometimes
you need that fire. Sometimes you need that fire built underneath you.
And I hate to quote him, but he says it all the time. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse, and that's Donnie Gay's deal. You know, You got to be getting better all the time, and it dang sure put a chip on my shoulder for the rest of my career. And I mean, if Mark Bennett was sitting here, he'd tell you, man. I mean, it lit us up from then on. You know, and I never let anybody be able to say that about me again. You know,
right?
And so I mean, I'm sure that could be part of it. Frank's a smart guy.
Yeah.
He's been doing it a long time, and I don't watch and see the PBRs as much. I can't. I guess I'm not on Hulu or can't find it. I never can find it.
It's hard to find. It's a circus over there, and you don't ever know what channel the circus is coming on.
Right.
One day it'll be on Hulu, next day it'll be on CBS Sports Network, and you don't know what time. It could come on at 10 o'clock in the morning. It could come on 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 8 o'clock at night, or midnight. You don't know what damn channel it's on. You don't know if it's Pluto, Hulu, CBS. It's they don't have no rhyme or rhythm over there.
Yeah.
And back when I don't know a couple years ago, I guess when the Cowboy Channel jumped in with the PRCA, PBR had the same option. They could have went with the Cowboy Channel, and they was going to do, or RFD or one of them, they was going to show every touring pro, every event. They was going to air it. It was all going to be in one central location. And they turned it down. PRCA got it. Now they've got the 100 days, 100 rodeos, and everybody watches that thing. And now you can't go over and find a PBR event on, where's it at? It's on 3 different networks.
Yeah.
How the hell do you figure that out? I think that was some of the, I don't know. I'm not going to go there yet. PBR's upper end pisses me off a lot.
Well, you got to be able to, the people, like my daughter. My daughter, she can get on that phone. She can find anything. She's 18 years old and do whatever. But the guys that are going to sit around and watch rodeo, mine of your age, you got to make it easy on us old timers. Make it easy for me to find. And that's the cool thing about the Cowboy Channel deal and the PRCA is it's easy to find. It's right there. And heck, I mean, other than watching the news at about 6 o'clock, that's all I watch.
Yeah. You can go kick on Cowboy Channel, and I don't know what rodeo is going to be on, but I can bet you there's a rodeo on.
Guaranteed.
Yep.
And you go to Pluto, which is supposedly a ride pass on Pluto for PBR. You might be watching a fucking movie instead of a bull riding. Where's the bull riding? Show some old replays if you don't have one going on. Show some old replays. Do something. But they need to get a rhythm there to where, you know when it's coming on. Like back in the TNN days, I keep saying that, and I'm beating a dead horse because they don't give a shit. But you knew Friday and Saturday night what was coming on.
And what time?
And what time.
Set time.
You knew what channel and what.
Pam Minnick in the gang, we're going to let you hear it all.
And you planned accordingly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You knew it
and
was
you set your
on.
DVR.
Yeah.
Now you can't even set your DVR to where it's at now to tape it. Like, Brandon, he missed half the team season or probably most all of it.
Most all of it.
Because he works Friday and Saturday, on the weekends announcing. He couldn't even keep up with it because he couldn't go back and watch the reruns or replays of the damn
You couldn't go back
thing.
and watch any of it.
Yeah.
Nothing was archived.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I mean, anything that happens on Friday and Saturday night, I usually miss.
I catch it on Monday at whatever they put on Facebook because that's the only place you can find it.
That's it. And we know Facebook is so truthful.
Oh, 100%.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
If it's on the internet, it's true. By the way, we are on the internet. We are truthful.
But yeah, there's a lot of times when guys apply for their card, I'll send evaluators out, and they, and it's the worst part I hate about being the rep is when they fail them kids, I have to call them.
Yeah.
But one thing I found is those kids that usually get that happens to, one or two things happen. Either you never hear about them again, or it lights a fire in them, and they're here they come.
Now, who do you send out? Who would be some of your scouts like you would send out?
I try to send I've sent Cody Custer a bunch. I send James Pierce, old bullfighter. I send Miles and Rob. But what I try to do is, when they send in that list of signatures, usually it's a group of people. So if the guys that sign for him, like if Cody Webster obviously is still active, so it can't be anybody active like that. Guys that are still in the game. So I try to find retired guy. Gary Jones does them for me. I try to get old NFR type bullfighters if I can. Sometimes I can't, depending on location and where they're at. I do some of them myself, but it's really hard when you get off certain parts of the country to find somebody
close,
but that's the reason I thought it was so important to have this catch-all with this new rule, because all right, say a guy, he's working for one contractor and he looked really good when I sent that one evaluator. Then a little time goes on, he quits trying, he gets a little out of shape, doesn't fight bulls good anymore, but he's still got that card and he's still getting these rodeos probably because he's cheap and he's available. Well, there's a way now to reevaluate that. And like I said,
how does that work?
You, if the bull riders have a problem with it, they have to write a letter into to Cody Rostocki, it's their director. And then if a guy gets 3 letters in 1 year from different events, then there's a group that we've put together. Cody Rostocki's part of it, but there's a anonymous group that will look into it and make sure it ain't, you went out with my girlfriend and I'm mad at you. And now that's the cool thing about that Cowboy Channel and that app. You can look them guys up.
Yeah.
You can look at the video. It's not so much hearsay anymore. You can go in there and look at the tape. And the tape doesn't usually lie. And then if they feel it's a problem, then we'll send them. They'll send it to me, that's my favorite part of it. The bull riders are making that decision. If they've got a problem, they go through it, and if they send it to me and say, "Hey, this guy needs reevaluated," then we'll do it. You know, kind of keeps me out
And
of it.
then that guy's got to go through another. Does he realize? Does that guy know he's getting reevaluated?
Yeah, after the second warning or the second letter comes in,
Okay.
they send him a warning shot and say, hey, you know, we've been, you know, alerted that bull riders think might be a problem. You might want to, you know,
Step it up.
step it up, you know.
Now, say a kid just turned 18 and he don't know anybody in the PRCA that's going down there. How does he get them signatures if you don't know them?
Well, the number one way is they start going to the bullfights to get seen. You know, if you're not a freestyle guy, I try to keep it out there and let all them guys know that I'm the director, and I can tell them to call me. You know, and I get them to try to get them in contact and get them in front of somebody, get them seen, and give them an opportunity to get those signatures. I mean, it's tough to do sometimes because you're asking guys that are doing this for a living to sign for you to be able to go get one of their jobs. You know, so you dang sure better have your bullfighting together when you ask for those signatures. You know, but you know those guys, the top guys usually are veteran guys, and you can get signatures from anybody that's ever worked the finals. I mean, all the way back to the '60s, whatever. Yeah. So guys get a chance, and usually I don't hear too much that a guy can't get signatures. You know, usually if they can't get them, there's a reason. You know, if you fight bulls good, them guys will sign for you.
Well, a lot of times too, Briar, if you're fighting bulls and you're coming through, you can see the hot ones coming up, and that top crowd will levitate towards that top crowd. You'll get to know them through doing your rodeos and coming up and going through. You'll run across some guys, and
them bullfighters gossip and talk more than anybody. I mean, if you got some game, they're going to be talking about you. Somebody's going to know who you are. I mean, most of the rodeos I announce now are I do mostly IPRA rodeos and stuff, but I still hear about them, man. I hear who's coming. You know, the word gets out there.
So is it the top 15 or 20 that will vote on that for them to be really evaluated, or
no? There's kind of an anonymous panel that after 3 complaints, they'll look at it and investigate it. Like I said, and make sure it's not a personal.
So it could be somebody 30th in the world.
not a hate crime.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, like, if you did it off the top 15 or 20, most of the places them guys are going to be the top bullfighters.
Right.
So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, any bull rider with a PRCA card, if they feel a guy's a problem getting people hurt, they can send in a letter, you know. But the cool part about it is you can't just, call the guy up on the phone and say, hey, I think Cody Hart's fighting bulls terrible. We need to fire him. You got to write a letter and you got to put your name and your card number on it.
Yeah.
You know, and all of a sudden that's a little
Documented.
work. It's documented. You're saying, hey, this means so much to me that I'm willing to put my name on it. You know, and that ought to, for the most part, I don't think it's something that's going to happen very often, but it is available. And over the years, there's been times that it needed. There's some guys that needed to be kind of shown the door, and it happens.
Or at least warned,
Right.
to wake them back up.
Right.
Yeah. And then, like, you said if they get their permit, they have to have 5 rodeos. Do you ever see that? Does kids have a hard time getting their 5 rodeos to get kicked off?
Yeah,
Is that a problem?
we've had that happen. Some guys. I think in the last 6 years, I've had 3 guys that got bad evaluations at their permit rodeos, and we've had to pull their card. Some guys, they'll get a bad evaluation the first round at their first 5 rodeos, and what I'll do is I'll just leave them on their permit another 5, and usually it clears up, because ordinarily when a permit guy's coming in and he gets a new set of rodeos, he got them from somebody else. So there's liable to be a timer or a pickup man or somebody there that's not real happy that there's a new guy coming in. Maybe their buddy used to have the job or something. So every now and then those bad evaluations pop up, and I tell those kids, they panic. They're like, oh my God. And I was like, guys, relax. It's not a big deal. Happens all the time. And they stay on their permit another few rodeos, and then they're usually pretty good.
Once they get to know them.
But on the announcer side, they're working on going back to that same style of moving forward. I heard the rule was last year in our meeting was going to kind of push that back to a signature situation, and I know that's coming up too as well, and the announcers as well.
Well, and I always get mad because my meeting's right there. I'm an announcer now, but I'm always in the bullfighter meeting, so I don't get to
catch up.
I don't get to catch up on the dirt.
Call Jesse and get all it lined out.
Yeah, I'm on the phone with Jesse quite a bit. Jesse does a good job. We have about one big conference call a month usually, and then we talk quite a bit. But there's
I
always
think he's
some
doing
there's
a really
always
good
some
job.
drama.
I think he's doing a really good job. I've known Jesse for a long time.
Jesse's a good dude. He knows that rule book, and he believes in following the rules. He's doing an excellent job. I love the crew we got: Sonny Depp Backstrom, Cindy Rosser, and Josh Edwards. Josh is our rep on the big board.
Yeah,
he's the guy. We sit down and whatever's going on, we kind of come up with what we think, and we send Josh in there. And man, he has to fall on the sword a lot, and he gets bashed a lot,
Really?
a lot worse than we do. But you talk about a guy that'll do the right thing every time. I'm glad we're on here and I get the chance to brag on him. I didn't even think about that when we started, but I'm gonna tell you, I'll brag on that guy. When it comes to doing what's right, you can't beat him.
Well, when did you decide you wanted to go to announcing?
Well, before I quit fighting bulls, I started putting on bullfights.
Yeah.
I put on Pasadena, and I used to do one in Mercedes and Kingsville. And matter of fact, Terry Starnes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's a funny story. Terry Starnes is announcing a bull riding in Edna, and they had an issue with the clown, and they ended up having to fire the clown before the first perf. And Starnes called me and said, "Hey, you ain't doing nothing." He said, "Come down here and just co-announce with me." First time I'd ever done it. And so I did that, and I'd been co-announcing my bullfights. And so then I kind of got to thinking about it. I was probably 40, 42, 43. I knew, the old wind was coming. And I decided I'd start kind of getting better at it and quit yelling and screaming so much. And because the first few times I heard myself, I was like, "Oh God," It sounded like one of those, when they got the bullfighters mic'd up on the arena floor. That's what I sounded like. And so I started kind of working on it a little bit. And then when I quit fighting bulls the COVID year. I had I was going to retire at all these rodeos, and all my committees were, give me this big send off. And then COVID hit, and I got to go to, I think I went to Lafayette, Kissimmee, Fort Pierce, and Arcadia, and then the world shut down. So my last two rodeos I got to go to Belton on the 4th of July and Guyman, Oklahoma, and that was all I got to do that whole year. And so I figured that I started announcing just kind of, I was going to do it around the house and high school rodeos and just kind of stay involved, and one thing led to another.
Yeah. I know you work for Jerry and do a lot of stuff with Jerry. Do you do a lot of his rodeos now, or is Donnie still doing a bunch of them? Or
Donnie still does them. Most of his rodeos now, he's got, them rodeos are so big, they're committee hire. Mm-hmm. So I think, one day I'll get an opportunity when something changes or whatever, but you don't fire a Boyd Polhamus and those kind of guys, they're great. And so, but like I go and help them at Pasadena, and I help them the other day at League City, went and did that rodeo. And I don't get to see them as much as I used to, but get to see them quite a bit. We was about 20 years of family.
You ain't a kidding.
25 years of family. You know. That I rode for that old Frontier brand for a long time. They're good dudes.
Yes, they are. So I remember the old bad boys, Mike Greer hauling bulls.
Oh man. And old Semino, man, I love old Greg.
Semino, man.
Yeah, when Greer left, Semino kind of took over, and that group of bulls, Big Bucks and all that old crew, those were Greg's babies,
Mm-hmm.
My favorite story on old Greg is the year Big Bucks won the Bucking Bull of the Year. He said, I remember there's a video of it when he ties that flank off. Somebody said something to him about, because he didn't put any flank in that bull. I mean, he just hung it on him. Somebody said something to him about it, and Greg just walked up there and went, "Yep, that'll do." And it was remember when he threw McBride down on his head and all that? That was that trip. I mean, Greg loved that little bull, man. He was a bucking dude.
That was a little bucking dude. Where did he come from?
He come from Oklahoma.
Charlie John Coffey or somebody?
Trying to think of
Stanley Hart, maybe?
Yes, that's where he came from.
Yeah, I knew it was somewhere over there in eastern Oklahoma.
You ever heard the story on that bull? Why they called him Big Bucks? Stanley showed up in Winnie at the bull sale with him, and when he got there, he unloaded him, and he told Jerry he wanted $25,000 for him. And I mean, he was about this big. He was just a baby. So, and he got him there like 3 days before the sale. So everything we did, we kept having to move him, and we just kind of nicknamed this old Big Bucks. Let's get old Big Bucks out of the way so we can do this. And that's how he got his name. Well, Stanley bucked him with a dummy. It's one of them first dummies that didn't work real good. And I mean, this calf gets it on and gets it on, and Stanley's hitting the button, and it won't come off and won't come off. And I ran out there, and I'm trying to swat him in the head and stop him. And this goes on probably 45 seconds. I mean, forever. Finally, this calf just falls down, bellowing. And Bull Stanley's mad. He throws his hat down, and he walked over to Jerry and said, well, he's probably ruined. Will you still give me 10 for him? And Jerry said, yeah. He gave him 10 for him and turned that sucker out. And I didn't see him for 2.5 years.
Wow.
And when he brought him back, first trip I saw him was at Arcadia, Florida. He had never, his first rider trip, Jerry took him to the rodeo. I don't think they'd ever had a rider on him. And I mean, he did kick the lights out.
That's one thing that sucker would do is kick the damn lights out.
Now that was that black and white bull, right?
Yeah, little bitty flat horn. Probably the smallest bull to ever win bull of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had the black body and the white underneath.
Yeah, a little white paint underneath there.
What I always saw him do when he'd kick and break so hard, he'd slap him in the back of the head with his rear end. You know, and if
or
you
he'd hit you in the back with his back. His back would hit you in the back, and it would knock you forward.
Yep.
Yes.
What's one of your best memories from bullfighting? Like, what's the top? Something really stands out.
I don't know. You talking about like saves or rodeos or?
Yeah, just anything. Like, what's your best memory from bullfighting? Like, what's something that?
Probably my best memory was right there towards the end when I got done. The messages and the stuff people sent to me that when you're rodeoing and going, you don't think a lot of times you don't think people think about you that much.
Right.
And the world champion guys that sent me messages and called me when I quit, the respect that I got from them guys was probably my best memory. I mean, I had so much fun fighting bulls. I mean, it was working for Jerry and that whole crew. I mean, it was a good of environment as you could be in. And but you always wonder what people think of you.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't give a shit what anybody says.
You know.
Everybody deep down cares what somebody else thinks about them to a certain extent.
Yeah, and especially a guy like me. I mean, I felt like I had NFR talent and never got there. So that's that little deal that always eats at you. Man, I never got over that hump to get there. But so you wonder what a lot of those guys think of you. When you get almost done, and that was probably my favorite thing. I worked Fort Worth. That was a cool experience. I don't know how them guys keep going back to that sucker. That beat me to death. 34 fighting bulls in 21 days, and plus the rodeo. I mean, I think they've cut it back to it's about 20 perfs now.
Yeah,
but when I did it, it was a long sucker, and but enjoyed the PBRs and the friends and the buddies, and the stories. I mean, I'm sure everybody says that, but I was thinking on the way up here. You remember that time at Rock Springs? At the PBR, me and you, we stayed in that cabin deal.
Yeah.
And we opened the door to go to lunch, and I've never seen so many sheep in my entire life. There must have been 1,000 of them.
Well, we drive in that night, and it's dark, pitch dark. And if you've ever been to Rock Springs, you know damn well why it got its name Rock Springs. There's nothing but damn rocks everywhere. Yeah. And when we pull in this cabin, and it's pitch black. I mean, there's no moon. It's dark. And we get up there, and we get in there and everybody goes to sleep. We get up the next morning, it's daylight, and we open the fucking door, and it's just covered with shit.
I mean, there had to be 1,000, 1,100 of them. Mm-hmm. I mean, all the way over the top of the next hill. Mm-hmm. I was like, damn, it's not what you expected.
Like farming sheep or mountain goat?
No, like sheep. Sheer sheep.
Yeah. Lambs.
Yeah. The silence of the lamb.
There was a shitload of lamb chops out there, boy.
And I'll tell you, one of my... Get back on that. One of the coolest things I got to see is that dude right there in his world championship season. If you weren't there for it, dude, it was something pretty cool.
Yeah.
It took them. Heck, how many events did they have the year you won the world?
26.
26. And how many years did it take them to break some of your records on that year? I mean, just here in the last 2 or 3.
They just broke. Jose just broke the 90-point record. 2 years ago?
Justin,
but I held that record for over 20-something years.
Yeah.
Justin broke his record in 2000s for the most event wins, and then
not in 2000 he didn't.
Not in 2000, but when he was
making his
his run for the world title.
Yeah.
And then Joe say.
They still haven't.
And there was more
most
events though.
consecutive
There was
rides.
like 32 events then.
Well, they
there was 32 events when Justin did
They
it.
say that that JB broke it, but we have a card at the house that
We have proof.
says
I rode
wrong.
in 8 events, 8 consecutive events without getting bucked off at all, and that's 28 bulls.
yeah.
And that's at the cup level.
Yep.
28 in a row.
And I remember every bit of that deal. And I mean those days when that PBR, to be a part of it when it was growing, and that energy and
When it was good.
Oh man, yeah, it was. Man, I mean, I can remember if Jerry Nelson was sitting here, he'd tell you there was a time when if you found you a flat piece of ground and put some bleachers up in an arena and got it sanctioned, man, you could sell as many tickets as you wanted to.
Do
It was
whatever
hot.
you wanted to do.
This episode is brought to you by Dennis Davis Bucking Bulls, Glory Cranch, Sutherland Logistics, Blake Skaggs Bucking Bulls, Crenton Stitch Company, Benchmark Custom Buckles and Western Jewelry, SK Leather, Kirk Martin Logging, The Hat Shack, and Cactus Rodeo.
It was hot, but yeah, that's a lot of the. Another thing, I saw ride medicine woman in Arcadia, Florida one time, and I was standing right there, and she circled right there in front of me.
Wow.
One of the coolest things I ever seen, and her, I don't know how high she was jumping, but it's as high as one can jump, and he was throwing that rein at it and giving it to her. That was one of the coolest deals
That
I ever
would be
saw.
cool.
But I went from, I tell people this all the time, I went from Tough Hedeman, picking them off Tough Hedeman, all the way to Stetson Wright. And that's pretty cool.
That's a pretty good stretch. We had Daryl on earlier, and he was shoot boss for the NFR for 30 years.
Yeah.
From 82 to 2012. That era right there is, I think, the greatest era of the
It's
NFR
the legends.
ever.
It's the legends.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just to think who all went through there from 82 to 2012 was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just riddled with Hall of Famers.
Yeah,
I mean,
you had all the great bullfighters back then coming in, and then it went from Oklahoma City to Vegas.
Yep.
And then you had, Jim and Norman and Adriano all riding their bulls. Charmaine making the run on Scamper,
Yep.
bridleless, winning her, 10 or 11 world championships, whatever she won. And then
Billy Atbauer riding
Yeah.
Cool Alley.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Billy Atbauer riding anything he got on.
Which,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
which year do you want to talk about Billy Atbauer at?
Wow.
I mean, wow,
Yeah.
Cody
But I'm going to tell you what,
Yeah.
I see Stetson Wright do something every now and then that in all the bull riding I watched, and I mean, I watched tons of them. I see him do something every now and then that I've rarely seen anybody get away with, where he can backdoor one and get sat back down
Yep.
and finish that ride without having to stay backdoor.
Yeah, usually when you go in and start going in that back door, that is your last ditch, last resort,
Yeah.
last effort, and you don't ever recover from that. The only way to do that, and I think I know why how he does it, is when he goes in that back door, he goes far enough in there that he can hesitate. He kind of gets ahead of jumping, and he can wait and catch them.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys, they don't know that. They don't know to get in there. But
And
that
it-
was like your swing in, swing out.
yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, when first time I saw him do that, I was like, and I got to trying to think,
He uses it a lot more than I think he really needs to sometimes.
yeah, hamming them up, man.
I think so.
Yeah. Made him look a whole
he can
lot ranker
he
than
can
they are.
ham them up, dude.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of it,
That's kind of like Ronnie Kitchens when he was, running high and wild and all that. He would, he'd be running 95 mile an hour, and that bull's running 72.
Oh yeah,
And it would ham him up a lot. I mean, he would get to waving his arm, and I see a lot of that. And I'm not comparing them two by no means, but Stetson kind of tries to ham it up a little bit. But
well,
Oh, come
and back
on.
in the
He
day,
gets away
then
with it.
You can't say you didn't do that.
you did that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't
When
sit
you're
here
sitting
and down
up there-
them guys for hamming one up.
Hey, when you're sitting up there, and there's times you can sit up there and smoke a cigarette, drink a beer, and eat a cheeseburger, and wave at your girlfriend all at the same damn time.
I mean, because you
Yep.
told me
You know.
you made Maximus look harder riding what he was because you just trying to ham him
Oh,
up.
absolutely. Yeah, everybody's like, why did you get so wild at the end? I said, well, I knew I had him. I had to ham it up.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how you back in the day when it wasn't a PBR, when there was a pen of 20 bulls and there was 4 or 5 of them you could win on and a bunch of junk, you had to learn to ham up find that junk and ham that junk up to win you a fourth.
Yeah. Speaking of this, I got a funny story about first time I ever went down to Johnny Ackles, and we'd got down there, and I think I was like 14 or 15. I was pretty young, and me and JW had went down there, and I think somebody else, I can't remember who, and I had some little white bull. He was fucking horrible in the chute. I mean, terrible. And he's trying to buck in there and everything. And I can't remember the flank man that Johnny had at the time. I'm pretty sure he was a prick. I almost know he was a prick.
Yeah.
And he was picking on me because I was a young kid. Hurry up and get out of there. Da, 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 da. I'm going to wreck your ass. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to hot shot burn him. And, I mean, it's something that's just throwing a walleye fit in there. And finally, I get to where I can get my wrap. And I go to sliding up. He's doing all this shit. I nod, and he goes out there about 2 or 3 and then just licks it up to the right, and I did beat all the shit out of him. I tried to beat the white off of him. And I hammed him up, and the whistle rang, and I took my hat off, and I beat all the white off that son of a bitch again. And I stepped off, and I don't know who, I cannot remember who that flank man was, but he did not fucking like me at all. He said, I will wreck him the next time I see him. I said, well, you'll have to do it in the chute because you can't do it out there, obviously.
I thought JW said that.
When people talk about Johnny Ackle and they ask about him, I try to describe Johnny Ackle. He was like an X-rated John Wayne. That's the best way I know. I mean,
yeah.
But man, you talk about a fun old dude to rodeo with.
Yeah.
Because when he walked, he was like Crabtree. When he walked in the room, everybody knew who the toughest guy was. So there wasn't no question about that.
Yeah, as I got a little older, I think they kind of, as I started going down there more and coming around and riding more and kind of got more known, I gained their respect. But I didn't have their respect then.
Yeah.
And they were just going to, it was like going to a David Bailey rodeo or a Dan Russell rodeo. You're fixing to get told, he's fixing to take his aggression out on you.
Yep.
Until you earn their respect.
That was the old school way, though. I mean, I tell this story all the time. First rodeo I worked for Benny Butler. Benny yelled at me for 4 days. I mean, the whole time. I mean, I couldn't do nothing right. And the last night, he had that spotted demon bull of his out Saturday night, and we started fighting him pretty good. He went to the far end, and I mean, he did wipe me out, And so I get done, and I've been getting yelled at for 4 days. I got my bag over my shoulder, and I'm walking to the truck. And Benny's sitting out there on tailgate drinking a beer, and he calls me over there, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? He's going to chew me out again on the way out of here. And he walks up and he said, hey, Biggin, he said, you want to come to Jasper and Beaumont? And I was like, well, yeah, but I thought you hated me. Oh, no, you Texans, I'm just trying to toughen you up. Said, but that was them,
Yeah,
I mean, if you showed them you had some guts, I mean, then they'd love you, but they was going to make you show them.
Oh, yeah. You had to earn their respect.
Yeah.
That was kind of a rite of passage.
Yep. Benny's still that way. I mean,
he is.
He's still that way. I miss old David. I fought bulls for David. You talk about, you go to Imboden, Arkansas, and David Bailey unloads his truck for $500 added, and there's little old kids standing back there wetting
Just
their pants,
shaking,
and they ought to be. I mean, Lucky Strike and all them in there. Oh, my God.
Good Lord.
I watched him buck Lucky Strike twice at Imboden, Arkansas, these little permit guys. Oh, my God.
Yeah. And if you viewers do not know Lucky Strike, y'all can probably go on YouTube or Spotify or anything else. Look that up. Was it Robson Palermo who about killed at Fort Worth?
I can't remember.
Yeah, Robson Palermo on Lucky Strike. That is, whoa.
And he used to show up to $500 added rodeos and unload them. I mean, and you remember the stories, and I mean, Playboy and go on and on. I mean, he brought them.
Monster Bull and
Wild Red Man.
Yeah, Wild Red Man.
Yep.
Yeah, Super Cool. That was Muley.
Cool,
the Muley that would just hook the snot out of you.
Yeah, I rode him.
Yeah.
I was fat too. Yeah, Super Cool.
You rode Vegas Nights fat too.
Yeah, I did, but that wasn't his.
No,
but there's none of those big personality bull guys anymore. You can't be really. If you acted like them guys today, they'd run you out of business.
Yeah.
They wouldn't vote for your stock. They wouldn't let you bring any.
No, we went to Clarendon, and Pete Carr had it, and I think that's the first time I ever met Pete, and he was just the nicest guy in the world. And I was like, boy, what world am I in? Stock contractors are supposed to be big, mean, and assholes.
Yeah.
Supposed to be rude, you know.
the way they
This
were.
guy was super nice. Give me VIP tickets to the VIP room. You know, I got to go to the VIP room and hang out. And I was like, wow, what the hell am I at?
Yeah.
My question is, how old was you when you went to that deal?
What?
That-
Clarendon?
Yeah,
Oh, we took Clancy up there to the pro rodeo.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a different deal. I mean, they, you know, and I guess it's probably a good thing. You know, I mean, the world's got to change a little bit, but I miss
I do
them
miss
old
them old
cubs.
grouchy fuckers.
Yeah,
You know?
they're funny.
Yeah,
you
when
know?
you're tying your hand in there and one of them stock contractors are back there telling you, better down, son. Or, I hate it when he does that. Man,
Yeah.
last time he did that, he hurt
We got
somebody.
a funny story about that.
That is the funniest thing.
So we took bulls to this youth bull riding one time, and they had a ladies bull riding after this. Well, we had this Corini, was he Corini?
Yeah.
Corini bull, and he had them. It looked like a kind of a Mexican fighting bull build, and the horns out like this, and looked mean. He's just biggest pet in the world. So he's in there, and that lady crawls down in there, and she's already scared because he's kind of a bigger Corini build. She's already scared of him. She crawls down in there, and he moves around, and he goes, "Oh, I hate it when he does that."
Yeah, that's what he's
He
hollering
goes-
at her. Oh,
and
God.
he told bullfighters, he goes, "Look out! He just killed a guy from Mexico."
Yeah, she's scared to
Had them
death.
scared to death.
Oh,
She
yeah, she
nodded
was
for him
trembling.
and jumped off first jump.
I told her right before she nodded, I said, when you hit the ground, you better be moving because she's going to be looking for you.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, he'd do that to me and buck and shoot, and I'm just like, man, shut up! I'm trying to ride.
Well, where do you think I got all them sayings
Oh, I
and
know.
stuff was from
them
the
old
old
timers.
timers?
yeah.
Willie Mandel
I've
and all them boys.
I've seen him just some kid crawl down in there, and he just flat out trash talking him in the buck and shoot.
Oh, that's fun.
I mean, he'd be flanking him, going, I hope you know what you're doing there, buddy. Because I don't.
Though the king of that was old Smets, man. Especially during the old bullfights, you know, he tried to beat everybody he could in the parking lot before you even had to get out there. You know, Rob was a master at that. You know, he'd plant them seeds.
Yeah.
You know, it's that little bit of doubt in your head. You know, tell you a story.
Yeah, but you know, speaking of bullfighters, Miles Hare, he gave me. I was like 16, and went to a couple of max deals, and we was in San Angelo or somewhere, Function and Junction maybe.
Yeah.
And I had what was it? It wasn't Wild Thing. It was the other one, 236. Superstitious.
Yeah.
He was
They looked about
he
the
was the
same.
shithead in the chute. You know, Wild Thing would stand there like a puppy dog, but Superstitious was a little shithead. And I was trying to get out on him. Miles Hare kept coming up there. Come on, Cocky, you got him, Cocky. Cocky, come on, Cocky. You got him, you got him. I'm like, man, Miles Hare knows who the fuck I am, and he thinks I'm cocky. This is cool. And I slide up there, and I get out of there and come to fucking find out later on he calls fucking everybody cocky.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
shit. I thought he really knew me.
Yeah.
Did you ride that bull?
About 6 seconds, he bucked me on. I did ride the Wild Thing, though. I won Lubbock on him.
So who would be like your top 5 bullfighters?
Mount Rushmore.
There
We
you
don't
go,
call
Mount
it top
Rushmore.
5.
Well, you got to put Wickpeth on there.
Absolutely.
I've never heard anybody say anything other than he's about the toughest, baddest cat that ever was. So.
Well, he'd get on his hands and knees and bite him on the damn ear
Yeah.
and whisper at him, look him in the eye, and crawl around him.
And then I don't know if you ever seen video, like if something run him to the fence, he'd go up the fence. When that bull turned, he'd jump on their back and ride him. I mean,
Yeah, he was crazy.
He's wild, man. So you got to put him on there. I think you got to put Skipper Voss on there because Skipper changed the game. He invented the step through, did something nobody's ever been doing. And so I think you got to put him on there. You got to put Smets on there. I don't care what, the Kamikaze Kid, you got to put him on there. And I believe you got to put Dusty on there.
Is this just bullfighting?
I'm talking,
Or is
yeah,
this
overall.
cowboy-
Now, if
Oh.
you're going to go just cowboy protection, then you open up a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah.
You got Joe Baumgartner, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You got old Crabtree. A lot of people don't remember how good Crabtree was because he didn't live long.
He was one of the best.
You know, there's there you can get a Daryl Diefenbach.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you talk cowboy protection, if you're just going that direction, you know, I kind of tend to be one of those guys that I look at the entire body
The
of work.
overall.
You know,
all around.
but you know that's why I put that post up the other day about Dusty. You know, Dusty was a guy. He was overall body of work. I mean, he'd go beat your butt at the bullfights and as good a cowboy protector as you'd want. You know, but cowboy protection. I mean, Joe Baumgardner. I mean, you can't argue with that a bit.
Frank Newsom.
Frank Newsom. Yeah. I mean, you got to put him on there. I'd have loved to see what would happen today if a Greg Crabtree showed up. Because he would upset the apple cart. I can tell you that.
I guarantee you, there's a little 3-ring deal they got, and that works good for guys. That's good. But I don't think Crabtree would work in it because he just seen it and he shot it, and there was no backing up. I don't think he could conform to that. I
don't think it would. I think they would. The other bullfighters, I don't think he'd fit the deal at all. And I always wonder where a guy like that would end up nowadays because, you know, now Webster and them guys, they teach them schools and everybody watches what they do and everybody's pretty much picked up that style. Mm-hmm. But I wonder where a Crabtree would land in that deal because, man, he's a different cat. Fought bulls his own way and a lot of times, you know, you'd think he was going to kill you because he'd go the wrong way and want to run into you, you know. But let me tell you something, when the Sure Enough wreck started, you wanted that guy with you. I mean,
when the shit got thick,
yeah,
you could when you looked up, you knew Crabtree was going to be there regardless.
Yeah. What about Roach Edelman? Talking cowboy protection.
Yeah, Roach.
You know, Roach, believe it or not, people forget Roach went to the bullfights some in his early days. You know, everybody just doesn't remember that part because he got into going to the PBRs, but Roach went to the bullfights, you know, quite a bit.
Smurf.
Yeah, Smurf's another one.
Mark Callahan.
Yep, Mark Callahan. Eddie Hatfield.
Yeah,
Eddie Hatfield probably. I want to say Eddie was the alternate to the finals 4 times maybe, and just because of who was there, you know, never got over the hump.
Yeah, just a lot of times, you know, somebody could be the leader of that area if it wasn't for 1 or 2 other guys. If you moved this guy to this area, he was the top guy.
Yeah,
but it was just who, you know. I mean, look at how many gold buckles would Josh Frost win right now if Sage and Stetson wasn't around?
Right.
You know.
Well, and you look at Cody Webster and Dusty Tuckness. You know, you notice that other spot rotates out. You know, there's some different people that come in, and I tell you what, I'm really proud of the bull riders these days for paying attention. You know, Justice got the NFR a couple times, and then you know Bryce came in, and then you know I personally thought Nate Justice fought bulls as good this year as I've ever seen him. And I was wondering what they were going to do. You know, if they were going to – I knew he'd make the top 5, but they took him back, and I think it was justified. That dude was lights out this year. I think that's a difference nowadays. Them boys pay attention with that phone, and they're watching. You know?
Well, who's the alternates that stand on the side in case somebody gets hurt?
They don't do one of those anymore.
No.
They let all 3 fight bulls, and we've run into some issues with it before because
was it Webb or something that broke his leg a couple years ago?
That was Tuck.
Tuck broke his leg a couple years ago, and
they
had somebody else come in, didn't he?
Well, Wasey had to come in for Justice. Justice got hooked and it tore his hamstrings completely off. And Chuck Swisher was actually the next in line that year. But Chuck was in Oklahoma, and the weather wasn't good. And when they didn't find out till the next morning that Justice was out, and they said, all right, well, you know, who's the next guy in line? I said, Swisher, where's he at? He's in Oklahoma. All right, who else is here? And Wasey was the next guy in line. And they said, well, Wasey's here. He's fighting bulls. Because the way the contract reads with the NFR, they have to take the 3 that the bull riders select.
Yeah.
But if something happens, it's their discretion after that. And that's why, you know, that's the way that deal went down. Right. And then when Tuckness broke his leg, it was the 9th round.
Yeah.
And we called Justice. Justice got on the plane and got there. But he just dressed out and stood on the side and let Harp and Webb finish it, you know, because he's one perf.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's just one of them contract deals.
Yeah. They used to have alternates, though, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah. But you'd have to, that would get into more money, you know, have to buy them a room and stay there for 10 days and all that, get them there.
I think they ought to have, you know, whoever the 4th place guy is or the alternate, they ought to at least, you know, get him a room, let him be there, and pay him a food stipend.
Yeah.
You know, which wouldn't hurt anybody. And then you wouldn't have to worry about it. You know, you'd have that guy there.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, heck, you can see it's happened in the last 5 years. It's happened twice. I mean, guy goes down like that, you know. It's high level.
Even if, you know, if one of them gets sore or something and needs to sit out a round or 2, he can step in for a round or 2, and then when your voted in guy gets, you know, say, I'm ready to go, he can slide right back in.
Yep. Yep. Because I mean, it to me, it's better to,
Better
it's
to
better
have
to
it.
have that guy there.
Better to have it and not need it than is to need it and not have it.
Yeah, and you don't want. And there was, the year Wasey went there, that was another one of them deals that blew up into a big controversy about how it all went down. But I mean, from the time Nate got hurt, I was on the phone with everybody, and that was, at the end of the day, it was Sean Davis's call.
Yeah.
If he wanted to, get that boy off the street and decided he could fight bulls, he
Yeah.
could have done it. I mean, we didn't have
can't
any
fight
controls.
No, we know you can't.
I can't.
You tried it and you got smoked.
Yeah.
But speaking of PRCA uppers, is Sean Davis still over the NFR? Or because I heard Boyd Paul Hemus was coming in to take over, and then did that happen? Or
Boyd came in for 1 year, and then, and I mean, I'm totally speculating just from what I've been told. Boyd realized how much of his time that was going to take, and Boyd still announces a lot of rodeos, and I think the deal was Boyd said, "Hey, this is way more time consuming than I thought," and they made a decision to part ways after that. And then they've gone through a couple. They got a guy there his name's Alan, and I can't call his last name. That's done it the last couple of years. But it's not just. I mean, if it was just putting on the NFR, but you got to deal with Vegas and unions and everything that goes along with that deal. And I think that's why Boyd was like, "Whew."
Well, wasn't you telling me something about Vegas charges so much per head to be there, and you got to clean up the
all
shit
kinds
and
of
all
city
that
stuff and city
yeah.
ordinances you got to follow,
and you have to use this union for this, and to hang the speakers you got to use this union, and and there's a lot of that.
plumb down to the trash picker uppers. I mean, it's
Yeah.
everything's unionized out there, and it's a nightmare.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. Matter of fact, talking about Nate Justice when he got hurt. When he got hurt so bad, Tandy had found there was like one guy in the United States that had done that surgery that Nate needed, and he was in New York. But because he got hurt at the NFR under their workman's comp deal, they were wanting to send him to some guy, their local, that had never done it before. And it was a big old mess, and Nate had to put the surgery off for a long time and cost him a few months till we got everything straight and got him to where he could go to the guy that we needed him to go to. It cost Nate, probably 2 months of being able to get the surgery, healing up, and back to work, just because of the way all that deal works out there.
Yeah.
If they'd just used the PRCA insurance like we normally do, Tandy would have sent him there. He'd have had surgery the next day. But you run into that out there. It's a lot of, there's a lot to it.
Well, and this is kind of not on that subject, but it's just towards the NFR and the bulls and the housing and all this. I heard, and I hope you can fill me in on this. They don't feed their own bulls out there, right?
Nope.
And you can't take your own bull feed out there.
Nope. They give you 3 choices or 2 choices, I think, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You drop them off. Now, you can go out there and watch them do it. You can hang around and watch it happen, but
Can you tell them how to feed them?
I think you give them a direction on how much you feed and what they get and whatever.
Certain bulls take certain amount.
But you don't. When you drop them off, they take care of them.
Huh.
Now, and what I was told, that came from back in the old days when the stock contractors would go to partying and raising cane and wouldn't show up to feed, and they decided, you know what, we're just going to take this deal over because somebody's bulls might stand out there 3 days and not eat.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I just thought it was crazy and they told me it was more like a sponsors paid for the feed, and they wanted to make sure that bulls had to eat the same stuff. Well,
I don't. That's kind of outside of my realm. I do know that you got a couple, maybe 3 feed options, and they do. But yeah, you drop them off and they're there. You don't touch
because
them.
you see sometimes you see bulls throughout the year that are really, really good, and then they get to the finals and they don't have that final. They don't have that same trip that they had there. And I just wonder if it's because of their own. Because you go changing a bull's diet up. Mm-hmm. That can upset their stomach. That can upset the way. That can definitely change the way they feel, the way they act, and obviously the way they buck. I would guess if you're a stock contractor, you'd pick the feed, and I guess you'd try to get them swapped over before you got out there, maybe. But
yeah,
I think that's what they do, because I think they send you like a list, like they have all different kinds of hay, Bermuda, and then what I heard is they transfer over like a month before they go out there. They start feeding their option. They
guys,
circled.
Some guys go to it full time if they can,
Right.
You know, and keep them on it. But I think a lot of it's time in the desert too.
Yeah, and water.
Thanksgiving gets over with, and they've got to be checked in by that Sunday.
Yep.
You know, that Sunday night before the finals. So them bulls are out there 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, horses too, and I think that's always had a lot to do with it. Remember old Reindeer? He never would drink out there.
Drink.
You know,
They had Julio had to haul all the water around for him.
yeah. I mean, it's
Really?
that desert for 10 days is hard on me. I can imagine.
Exactly.
With them bulls.
Well, the climate change. I mean, I'm always having, you know, you're so dry out there. You're coughing and hacking the whole time you're there.
Or you're
not
losing
sick,
your voice, and you got
losing
to
your
suck on
voice.
some lemon water
Yeah, I
or
mean,
something.
it's just a
Yeah.
different atmosphere out there. So I bet it would be very detrimental to the livestock. You know, changing things up. And
Oh, I've seen a lot of them bulls Jerry had over the years down there in southeast Texas. You know, down there it's 80-90% humidity all the time, and go out there and blow them up. You know, they not be near the bull they are at home. You know,
yeah.
and that's what.
we all don't drink enough water while we're in Vegas. We'll just say that.
Yeah,
Well, we drink a liquid. It's just not necessarily in the water.
no doubt.
But,
Heck,
well,
you want to do it? You want
yeah, hey,
You're up.
Yeah,
Bam,
I'm
you're the
go
man.
ahead, buddy.
Dang. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Blue Jeans. It's been a great episode.
Did we
keep
miss
talking.
it before we get too far? Did we miss anything? Did we get everything out there you wanted
I think
out?
so.
You
Yeah,
kinda wanted to-
I hope so. I mean, I hope everybody understands a little bit more about how it all works and
Yeah.
and why the things are the way they are and but yeah, shoot, it's great being here. Great to see
Yeah.
you, old friend.
Yeah, I know. It's been a minute. I was telling Briar on the way over. I said, Briar goes, well, I don't even know what this guy looks like. And I said, well, I'm not sure that I do either. But I it's been so long since I've seen him.
Yep.
And but yeah, they've been damn sure glad to have you on, buddy.
Yep.
And
I appreciate it, guys.
yeah, we'll have to get you on after the NFR. And who's your pick in the bull riding?
Well, I'm picking old T. Parker. I kind of helped raise him, so you know, everybody, you can't bet against old Stetson. You know, he's going to
Well,
go in there and-
Stetson's got $100,000 lead here,
yeah,
and
Stetson
where's
always has
T
good
at?
finals.
He's down there.
he's 8th, I think.
8th.
Yeah.
Yep. He's a little ways. He's got a shot at the average, obviously, but probably
Yep.
not that.
Yeah,
gold
probably
buckle.
not the gold buckle because you're not going to buck Stetson off. You know, that many times. I
Vegas.
told him I hope I give him good advice. I do my best. I said, hey, they give away $29,000 every night. I said, just go ride make the whistle as many times as you can. Quit worrying about it. Don't you know? Just go make the whistle, and that's our plan.
Nod for 90 and let all the rest just fucking
Yeah.
take care of itself.
Yep.
Yeah, I want him to. I hope he goes out there. I'd like to see him. I mean, I think he's got the kind of talent, you know, to be a 7 or 8 bull ridden kind of kid, you know. But we'll see. You know,
Damn right.
You never know
Well,
till
you
you
tell
get
him,
there.
by golly, Pro Bull Talk guys are going to be cheering for him.
For
All right,
sure.
So-
we'll do it. We'll do it. He's got a whole convoy from Winnie. Half the town is coming.
I seen your wife. She
yeah.
put it out there, and y'all had a big get together down there and send off party
Oh
for
yeah,
him.
you know Winnie ain't real big, so for half the town to go, it ain't that big a deal. But they are going, you know. Yeah,
You about had half the Dairy Queen filled up.
exactly. But you know, I mean, it's just like anything else. You know, a guy may rattle off 10 NFRs in his career. A guy may get one.
Yep.
You know, you just don't ever know. So you know, go out there and enjoy the heck out
Hey,
of it.
he's already made one more than I did.
Yep.
But Blue Jeans, man, it's been great. It's been good visiting with you. And
too, man.
shoot, we'll have to get you back on. And
Heck yeah.
see you.
I'm a lot closer up here now, so it's a little easier
yeah,
to
yeah,
do.
Bluffdale ain't that far.
No.
Hey guys, if y'all like this episode, go give us a like, listen, and as always, subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, all major podcast platforms. Until next time, see you then.